Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we're doing another Flight Simulator X plane review. And today we are doing one of my most favorite aircraft of all time, the McDonnell Douglas DC-3. This aircraft is just amazing. This is actually one of the airplanes that started the civil aviation, saga. So this airplane basically started it all with civil transportation, and this airplane was built in 1936. This aircraft had, I think it was 3 variants, the DC-1, DC-2, which was built in 34, and then DC-3, which was built in 36. This aircraft saw action all the way from World War II D-Day to now. There's quite a few of these aircraft still flying today, and I'm going to be doing a review of this aircraft and showing you guys how it all works. So let's jump in to the cockpit. So, very simple cockpit here. This is a very easy plane to fly in this game. It is one of the first twin-engine airplanes you'll get used to. The second one would be I think it's just the Grumman Goose or the German Goose. That's another very easy airplane to get a hold of. So let's power the aircraft up and take it off. But before we do so, I'm going to give you guys some background history of the plane. So, as we all know, the aircraft manufacturer was McDonnell Douglas Corporation, American company. The aircraft had 2 Pratt & Whitney 9-cylinder radial air-cooled engines, and they propelled 1,200 horsepower each. So that's pretty good. The aircraft had a wingspan of about 95 feet and was about 64.6 inches long, and stood about 16.11 feet high. She weighed around 25,200 pounds. It's normal for a plane like this. This is yet again an all-metal design for this plane. All metal. Its cruising speed was about 180 miles an hour, or 290 kilometers an hour. And it had a service ceiling of about 23,200 feet, so it's not a 100% pressurized cabin, but it's fully enclosed. So you could still fly at a reasonably good altitude, but not too high. And it had a range of about 1,300 miles, or 2,100 kilometers. Had 2 pilots, a co-pilot and a pilot, and could seat about up to 14 to 32 people. So that's the history of this aircraft. Now let's get her airborne. So that's battery right there, and oh no, that's just a no smoking sign, sorry. Engine primer, so beacon, have you get those on, and then these are your battery and avionics master switch, so those would be right there. Pilot heats and prop de-ice, we don't need that because it's not winter. I'm going to go ahead and get the prop and fuel mixture at full rates just for now. We're going to turn this on here. Flick that to both, that's the magneto switch. Turn the generators on. And engine number 1. Starts up perfectly. And now engine number 2. Okay, so now that we got all the engines on, we can now take off. Just gonna set the takeoff flaps. And we can now throttle it out of here. So, I already did a video of this airplane. I think this was the aircraft that I used in my very first Flight Simulator X video when I flew this from this airport to Toronto. So that was pretty fun, to be honest. I enjoyed that, but I didn't really do a review on the plane. So, this time I'm doing a review on it. And I also did a video on the German Goose, which is another one of post-World War I aircraft, but made it all the way up from 1937 to today. I think the German Goose was produced in 39 or 38 or something like that, around there. But I'll look into it, because it's a pretty good airplane in this game and handles really well. Oh man, I forgot to put the hatch. Wow. Okay, that was a really big mistake right there. Whoops. Okay, but anyway, besides that, very good takeoff. This airplane isn't the fastest, but it'll get you where you need to go. Like, I've flown this thing from here to New York, and it only took me like an hour and 30 minutes, and that's it. So that's not too bad for this plane. It's very stable. It's a very stable aircraft. It's not going to toss itself around and all that kind of stuff like a Cessna would, or anything like that. It's a very stable plane. It's very responsive and very easy to fly. I wouldn't really say it's 100% for beginners, but it's definitely for those who, you know, are at least familiar with how to fly certain aircraft. And you kind of got, you know, like the feeling of it and all that. So then you can take this one out and try it. The German Goose is another very easy plane to fly, but I'd probably try this one out first, just so you guys can, you know, kind of get a gist of what you're flying here. So the cockpit, as I did mention, is very simple. This aircraft in X-Plane 11 looks a lot better, but that's because this game is about 9 years old, and X-Plane 11 came out like 2 years ago in 2017, so, you know, big difference. But in here, it still flies really well, and all your dials are very, very easy to spot out. Like, that's your speedometer, this is, what's that? Vertical speed, your altitude indicator, pitch, clock, no, sorry, not clock, the altitude emitter, speedometer, horizon, that's oil pressure, or oil temperature, sorry, that's your clock, and then these would be your compasses, RPMs, and oil temperature, and so forth. And then up top you have your radios and navigation, and these right here are your propeller props, no feathers. These are your cowl flaps, so you'd really only use those for landing or when you're kind of just increasing the throttle of the plane, and you'll see them and they'll come out with that. So yeah, so like as of right now, it's handling really well. Once you get up to a good speed, the aircraft will actually sit like this. You'll still have to tune it out with pitch control, but all the less, it still handles really responsibly. So I'd probably rate this aircraft at least, maybe in my own perspective, I don't know about you, but I'd rate this about a 10 out of 10, just because it's one of my favorite aircraft and it handles really beautifully in this game. Flies really well. The design is very perfect. You can also get a bunch of these on other websites, but this aircraft comes with the game, so you're not going to have to go to any kind of website to download them. You could get textures for them online from Simvation or Flyaway. Flyaway's probably got the best ones for this. And you can also get other models too from Flyaway and Simvation.com. So, you know, it's not so bad, but I'd just stick with this model. It's the base model. It's just fine how it is. This livery is the cargo livery. I usually fly in this one. I don't know why. I just choose to. But yeah, it's a very fun plane to fly, very easy to fly too. So if you're looking for your first twin-engine plane to start flying in, probably choose this one, to be honest. Okay, now we can head back and land the sucker. Okay, so in case you guys were actually ever wondering what happens when you cut the prop control, which would be the blue lever, you cut that down, all that's going to do is that's just going to cut your engine RPM. That's really all it's going to do. And then if you cut your mixture, that's going to shut the aircraft down completely, but I'm not going to do that because I need it to land. But yeah, so just in case you were wondering what that does, the prop control kind of, it changes the blades of the plane. That's basically all it does, because if I cut it down completely, the airflow is going to change, but if I put it up to the top, it's going to, you know, work just fine. So that's basically what that does, in case any of you guys were wondering. You could perform some pretty good emergency landings with this plane. It does pretty good in doing so, so I'd do it. I've done it before. It's not so bad. Alright, so as of right now, I just cut the throttle because you don't really need to use it all the way down. The airplane is just going to coast. I wouldn't really require throttle to be used all the way down, so you know, you can just cut the throttle about halfway through. When you come in for a landing, I'd say put it between 25 and 50. Set your flaps to, I think it's 25% or something like that, or 50 as well, if you want to slow down faster, but that's only if you're coming in too hot. And then once you get to a halfway point, just cut the throttle completely, just let the aircraft coast, and it'll slowly start going down. If you do see your speed decreasing too quickly, just put the throttle up to 25, just so you can keep the plane's weight stable. It'll still descend, but it won't, you know, drop like a rock or anything, so you can still land decently smooth. Also, this is a trail dragger airplane, but you can use the rear wheel for taxiing, so that's a good thing about this. Okay, now that that's done, I can now shut the airplane down. And that's basically that. So the shut-off procedure is very simple. Basically, it's the complete opposite of turning it on. And then there you go. So that was basically just the quick flight review of the McDonnell Douglas DC-3. If you guys did enjoy this, be sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn those post notifications on so you don't miss out on any new videos coming out. And I will be doing the German Goose right after this, so stay tuned for that. Take care, folks.